welcome to compute. It's welcome to compute. It's welcome to compute. It's welcome to compute.
Look up at the stars and not down at your feet. Try to make sense of what you see and wonder about what makes the universe exist. Be curious.
We are the Philosophers of Science. I'm John.
I'm Stephanie.
And we are here to increase your brain somehow, or decrease ours, one of the two, I don't know. Talk about science stuff. We have lots of science stuff. We've been off for a couple weeks, so...
You know, we could actually increase your brain.
How?
Yeah.
Is your thing not working? Can we hear you? I'm not hearing you. No, I am not hearing you.
Can you hear me now? Oh, now you can.
Now?
Looks like a little wire short.
A little wire short, but
Possibly.
I'm not hearing you through my headset.
Oh, well, I am.
But you are. Okay, that's good.
Hopefully.
As long as the people out there can hear us.
The little red flashing lights say that it's working.
Okay, then we're good. Then we should be good.
So we may actually increase your brain tonight. Why?
Why?
Because studies have shown that
Which studies?
that learning new words
Yes.
actually increases your brain size So if you learn any new words on our show today.
I learn new words every day.
Oh,
just in
your
the English
brain should
language.
be
It should be gigantic, but it's not.
to the size of.
I'm always learning new words. I don't know if they're real. For most people, they're not new words, though. So for me, they are.
I'm thinking that it's only intelligent words, though. It's not things like
Basic words?
No, like slang or
slang, right, because that's not
emoticon type.
See,
texty words.
What was that word?
Emoticon.
See, that's a new word for me. I have no idea what you're talking about. See, already my brain is growing. I could feel it. As long as you tell me what that means.
Well, you know when you're typing and you want to type.
Because we type so often now.
You want to type, yeah.
A typewriter. I mean, I haven't done that in 30 years, but yes, when I'm typing.
If you're
on a
typing
computer,
on
yes,
a computer.
Okay. But not really typing.
Let's say you're sending an email to someone.
Okay, sending an email.
Yeah, you're typing. You've got your fingers on home row.
Typing,
You're
see, I
ready
think of
to
the actual.
just-
I had a typewriter, in high school. That's how long ago I go back. We didn't have computers.
Me either.
So, anyways,
totally
okay.
had
So when you're
typewriters.
typing, go ahead. You're typing an email.
And you want to add a little smiley face to make sure.
Oh yes. I like smiley
That's
faces.
an emoticon where you do the
That's an emoticon.
colon and the parentheses.
Really?
Yes.
I never knew that. My brain is just growing. I could feel pressure. I'm getting a headache, I think.
It's a hybrid of two words, emotion and icon.
Emoticon.
Emoticon.
Amazing. It's amazing.
Mind blown.
Or grown. Mind grown.
Mind grown.
In my case. Okay, so we have the question of the day, which I was able to actually answer, but I won't tell.
Yeah, he was. He already knows this one.
But that's okay.
So let's see if you know
If the audience knows this one.
Perhaps any other subscribers to Car and Driver magazine will know this because this is where
This is where it came from. And I
question
don't
is from.
have the subscription, so I'm just going to
Just in case you think science is only for, science-y magazines.
Oh, no. It's all over. You
It's
can't
all
hide
over.
from science.
Even Car and Driver.
Right.
So the question is, what happens when you line up every car on the planet in a line and peg their throttles? Will it affect the rotation of the Earth?
Okay, and we'll answer that question at the end of the show.
That's right.
Of course.
Stay
yes.
tuned.
Stay tuned. So we got lots of science stuff to talk about, lots of science news. Like I said, we've been off for a couple of weeks.
And it's been building up. The amount of science news that
It just
builds
never
up
ends.
when we're
It just
away.
never ends. It's
mean-
there's always new things going on in the world of science, and we have to weed through the vast volumes to find things that are important, or at least that we think are fun. So the first thing we're talk about is water. Good old H2O. Good old water. Where does water come from, or where did water come from? And recent studies have kind of changed the perception, we'll call it, of how they believe, or when they believe water originated on the Earth, or where it came from. So new research from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute shows that Earth's water most likely accreted, and that's a nice word, accreted.
That's a new one. Mind grown. What does it mean?
Oh, you don't know accreted? Accreted collects. It collects.
Ah.
It collects.
Okay.
At the same time as the rock that formed the Earth did, suggesting that the Earth received most of its water relatively early from chondrite-like bodies, like meteors and asteroids that had this water in them as they clustered together to form the Earth.
So interesting.
Yes. So
Earth didn't form and then water.
well,
came
that was
onto
the
it.
original theory, and let's go and see what they kind of talk about here, because of course we really don't know for sure, but they've done some tests with some testing some samples, and when we test samples, chemical samples, we can kind of match them to certain ages and also where they came from, and if they match certain types of things that are found in space or that we find now, we kind of have an idea of where they came from. So Earth is known as the blue planet because of its oceans, which cover 70% of the planet's surface. It's essential for life, but where did it come from and when? There was the original hypothesis that water came late to Earth, well after the planet formed, but new studies significantly moved the clock back to the first evidence of water on Earth in the inner solar system. So the answer to one of the basic questions was water always here? We didn't get them from a late process as we previously thought. It seems like they came early on in the formation of the Earth. What they're talking about is these giant asteroids and meteors colliding together, lots of destruction. Some people argued initially that any water molecules that were present in those giant asteroids and meteors would have evaporated or been blown off into space, and that the surface water as it exists must have come much later. But the study shows that that's not necessarily true. The study's authors look at these carbonaceous chondrites. These are the most primitive known meteorites.
The carbonaceous chondrites sounds like a band name.
That would be a cool band name.
That would
actually.
be.
I think that would be a cool band.
Hello, Chicago. We're
Yes,
the
here they are.
carbonaceous
That is actually a
chondrites.
cool. If I'm going to start a band, I'll it goes with my carbon tattoo. So I guess
It does.
You know, I never thought of that before. I think I'll use that when I start playing my guitar again. I'll bring that up I'll call myself the. Well, you need to be a group though.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's yeah. Anyways, so these things were formed in the swirl of dust and gases that were in space 4.6 billion years ago, well before the planets were formed. So these primitive meteorites resemble the bulk of our solar system composition, where most of the planets came from, these things colliding together. And they have quite a lot of water in them. So they've been out there since the beginning of our solar system. So in order to determine the source, they measure the ratio between two stable isotopes of hydrogen, deuterium and hydrogen. Deuterium is a isotope, and when we talk about isotopes, we mean that it has the isotopes have extra neutrons in them. So that's why they're called an isotope. So they're different than the normal hydrogen. Hydrogen actually has no neutrons. It just has one proton, one electron. It's the only element that has no neutrons. So
But when you toss one in,
when you toss one, it changes.
You
It
get an
becomes an
isotope.
isotope. It becomes an isotope. So deuterium and hydrogen, these are two isotopes, and they're fairly stable. So we can measure the ratio between the two, found so we know when they first were formed. So different regions of the solar system have different variable ratios of these isotopes. So they compare these things, and to test this hypothesis, they utilized meteorite samples provided by NASA from the asteroid 4 Vesta. The asteroid, which formed in the same region of the solar system as Earth, has a surface of basaltic rock, frozen lava basically, and are well known to carry a unique signature of one of the oldest hydrogen reserves in the solar system. Their age, approximately 14 million years after the solar system formed, makes them ideal for determining the source of water in the inner solar system at the time when Earth was in its main building phase. So that's how they looked at samples from that. So the measurements showed that this particular meteorite contains the same hydrogen isotope composition as the carbonaceous chondrites, which is also that of Earth. Earth was made of these carbonaceous chondrites. So that combined with nitrogen isotope data, which is another, there are different isotopes of nitrogen, shows that they are the most likely common source of the water that is here on Earth. They don't really, findings don't preclude a late addition of water, but it does show that water was here early on. So that could mean that life actually started earlier or sooner than they thought.
so water could have formed as the Earth formed.
As the Earth forms, that's what they're talking about.
But and additional water could
came
have
later,
been
right?
added,
Came later, right?
Possibly.
But they're saying that by comparing these isotopes, we can determine that they were the same isotopes as were found in the same material that makes up the Earth.
That's interesting.
Yes, it is.
So how does water get formed in space? Is it just the atoms?
It's the atoms coming
gravitate
together,
toward
right? It's the
each
atoms
other?
coming together. Remember, you have all these different things going on in space with supernovas and stars exploding, where and all the elements are pretty much formed there, and then these elements come together to form molecules like the rocks. They gather together, and water is just one of those that was formed.
Fascinating.
It is fascinating that water's out in space. It is all over in space. I mean, we know it's not just here; it's everywhere. So it's very common in space. Not as common as hydrogen, the most common element in the universe, but...
So here's a question. then.
Okay. I always ask questions I don't know the answer to, though. So maybe I shouldn't Maybe it's not all right. No, go ahead.
Well, I'm assuming that most of the
assuming.
water in space is frozen, since space is very cold.
In space itself, correct, but water on frozen planets can be liquid, such as on Europa.
Because of the sun's energy?
No, because of because Europa, which is a moon of Jupiter, because the gravitational pull of Jupiter is so great, it actually it bends and warps the surface of the planet or of the moon, and that contraction and expansion generates heat and energy. So underneath the ice layer that is exposed to space, there's liquid underneath. That there is liquid water, even though it should all be frozen, but it's not because of these forces.
So when the
Carbonaceous
chondrites
yes, that's such a
smashed together and formed the Earth.
right. Some of the
Was
water.
the water frozen at that point? Do you know?
Well, it
Do
would have
they
been
know?
frozen in space, but as these things collide together, there's energy, there's heat. Some of it probably evaporated and was thrown up to space, but some of it was trapped. And then eventually, enough of it was trapped that, it worked its way to the surface as the surface cooled. And, at least we know some of the water that's here now came that early, that long ago, has been present for a long time.
That is a long time.
It is a long time. I mean, when you're talking a billion years or a couple billion years, that's a long time.
And
a billion is a big number.
Without water, there is no life. There's
Life that
no
we know of, anyways.
explosion of life.
Yeah, I mean,
life on Earth.
life on Earth. There are things, there could be other things that exist without water, but as we know it, the only evidence we have is that you need to have some water source for life, anyways.
Interesting.
But we're just a small, part of the universe.
Well, I'm an official fan of the carbonaceous chondrites.
I
then.
think that's a great name. I got to use it for something. I don't know what yet, but I think it's got to be used for something. I don't know what. So, what else we got? Do you want to talk about dark matter? Or you want
Let's
me
go to a song first.
to- Okay, let's go to a song first.
Let's
Okay.
build up the dark matter with some sort of
Build up
intriguing
dark
teaser.
matter Pac-Man.
Ooh,
Yes.
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man. That's definitely an 80s thing.
That definitely is. We'll be right back with Dark Matter Pac-Man.
Yes, dark matter Pac-Man.
You're listening to KTIM, the Philosophers of Science show. Maybe.
Been major discoveries throughout history, but this universe of ours is still one great big mystery. Why do we sleep? Science doesn't know. Why do we dream? Science doesn't know. Why do we yawn? Science doesn't know. Why do we blush? Science doesn't know. It's comforting to know that we don't know everything. Religion tries to go and explain it, but when science finds the answer, it'll be perfect and beautiful. It'll be testable and provable, and that's what I like. So science is awesome, and I love it so. There's still lots and lots of things science don't know. There've been major discoveries throughout history, but this universe of ours is still one great big mystery.
we're back.
We're back. Yes, you should hear all the fun stuff.
When you take a break, you get a little rusty on the controls,
Yes.
and there happens to be dead air. However,
And dead air is never good.
no, not generally in the radio business.
Not generally. Dead air is never good. All right, we were talking about dark matter Pac-Man
Yes,
because everybody should know what Pac-Man is.
yes,
Yes,
that
they should.
awesome game.
An awesome game.
From
to
the
eat things
80s.
up. Well, there's a new study. Well, let's talk about first of all, the universe. The universe is pretty much what we see, only composes about 3% of the universe. All the stars, all the planets, everything we see in the universe is a very small percentage. Most of the universe is made up of dark energy and dark matter. And these are things we cannot detect for some reason. We don't have the technology or the ability to detect them. Well, this stuff came up because the universe is expanding and we really couldn't explain why. So we had to come up with some reason as to why things are being pushed away. And this dark matter and dark energy makes sense. But there's a couple, when we do the calculations and we start working things down, it doesn't always work out very well. And they just didn't know why. Well, this study may explain that. It's because this new study may reveal that dark matter is being swallowed up by dark energy, which is bizarre. Because if you remember your basic science, energy and matter convert into each other. You know, you can take energy and convert it to matter. You can take matter, convert it into energy. When you do, you generate different things and light and stuff like that. So the sun is taking matter and converting it into energy and releasing light in that sense. So the idea here is that this dark matter that composes a large part of the universe is being swallowed up by this dark energy that exists.
What?
What? Yeah, what? just keep saying what.
What's gonna happen though?
Well, let's talk about what's going to happen. So let's look at, so.
This Pac-Man game is not going to have a happy ending, is it?
Well, no, the universe ending eventually will not be happy because it'll be a cold, dark, gloomy end. But it's a long time, trillions of years. So I think none of us will be here at that point. I don't think trillions. I mean, the universe has only been around for, about 14 billion years. So give or take. And trillion is a long time. Billion's a big number.
Time.
Trillion's big. Anyways, so what they're talking about is that this dark energy seems to grow as it interacts with dark matter, and this appears to be slowing the growth of structure in the cosmos, which is what makes up stars and planets and everything else that we see. One of the things they couldn't explain is why things did seem to be slowing down, star formation and all this other stuff. And if dark energy is growing, when it interacts with dark matter, it must be consuming the matter because there's no other way for it to grow. This is really about the fundamental properties of space and time, which really get bizarre. And it's about our universe and its fate, the fate of the universe. Now, fortunately, another article that I was reading talks about there's more and more theory that we do have a multiverse, or that there is evidence, or where they can find evidence. They believe in the near future to be able to find evidence of a multiverse, so maybe we can jump into one of those if ours dies. I don't know. It's possible. Anyways, if dark energy is growing and dark matter is evaporating or being eaten by this, we will end up with a big, empty, boring universe with nothing in it, because that's, it's like the Pac-Man eating it up. There's nothing left.
Well, there will be energy left.
But you can't see dark energy, and so you won't have nothing will ever form from it, because everything forms from dark matter that we see in the universe. That's the problem. So dark matter provides the framework for structures to grow. It provides the framework for the gluons and that make up the quarks or the quarks that make up the protons and neutrons, and then the atoms and everything else. It's all based on the fact that we have this dark matter, which is the framework for what it's built upon. So this evaporation, this loss of dark matter, is slowing the growth of structure in the universe, which could be a problem. So in 1998, researchers announced that the rate at which the universe was expanding was accelerating, which is a problem. The idea of a constant dark energy throughout space and time, which they called the cosmological constant. Physicists like to have constants. Became the standard model of cosmology. But now they believe they found a better description, including energy transfer between dark energy and dark matter, instead of this cosmological constant. So they've examined a bunch of different studies and looked at why they think this is true. So since the late 1990s, they've been convinced that something is causing the expansion of our universe to accelerate. The simplest explanation was that empty space, the vacuum, had an energy density that was a cosmological constant. However, new research and new evidence that the simple model cannot explain the full range of the data that we are now collecting because we have better technology. In particular, the growth of cosmic structure, galaxies and clusters of galaxies, is slower than what should be expected. So they believe because of that, there's no other explanation that this dark energy is consuming the dark matter, and that's why we don't have as many galaxies and stars and planets. And
Wow.
it is kind of bizarre. It's kind of bizarre, but this is very fundamental, physics world, cosmology stuff that ties all of space and time together. We know that the universe is expanding, and it's expanding at a continually expanding rate, at a faster rate. The dark matter and dark energy explain that, but the loss of structure could not be explained until now.
So crazy.
Eventually, the universe will be dark and empty and nothing to look at. That'd be boring.
I think that it's kind of amazing that humans have been able to figure out as much about the universe as they have so far based on the fact that we can only see and detect 3% of it.
Yes, isn't it? It is amazing. It is amazing. And that we're not really, technologically, we haven't been able to do this for very long. A couple hundred years, really, that's all.
Yeah.
Before that, we weren't able to study anything.
No, just look through our eyes and
right, and what we saw,
make guesses.
Right, big guesses. But now, in the last, certainly in the last century, we've been able to discover so much more. So, in 1,000 years, we may actually be able to detect and understand more about this dark energy and dark matter and what's really going on.
Crazy.
It is crazy, but the universe is crazy. That's what makes it better than science fiction, because it is.
You can't make this stuff up.
You can't. I mean, we could, but we're not. We could be lying, but we're not. This is actually a true study that
is amazing.
It is amazing. So Pac-Man, we got the Pac-Man dark energy going around eating the matter up, and
I'm still picturing
everything
him
is
as
hungry.
yellow. I know you can't see him, but in my mind, he's still yellow.
He's still yellow.
Yeah.
We could call him a black hole Pac-Man, because black holes also eat things. We don't know what happens to that matter, for that matter. Anyways, I know that was
don't.
no, we don't. But
Well, here's something we don't
right.
have to make up.
no, because this is very true, and it's
Not that we made up the last story.
No, we didn't. That's actually a true story, or true. The evidence is from this true study.
True tale of scientific discovery.
Yes, stranger than fiction.
Very much
All right, so our next one is a little bit more down to earth, or the moon, if you more down to earth. I'm just loaded with them today. I don't know.
We're a little rusty on the metaphors too, and the puns.
But we're getting there.
We're getting
We're getting there. So go ahead. It's all you, because they've heard enough of me.
China has successfully completed a mission to the moon and back. To the moon, Alice.
To the moon.
China's unmanned space probe, dubbed Little Flyer, successfully completed a round trip to the moon early Saturday morning, safely landing in northern China's Inner Mongolia
Is it really
region.
flying if it's in space?
It was flapping its wings, so yes.
Are you sure?
No.
No. It's really not fly. I mean, flying space. There's really no up and down in space. It's traveling in space,
Well, it
through space.
Flew out of the Earth and
It
then
left the Earth,
traveled and then
came back and crashed instead of landing. It came back. Okay. Anyways,
it safely landed.
I'm just wondering the terminology. Does that really apply? Flying in space? Because
Well, no.
No, it doesn't.
It
so I'm
doesn't.
just questioning it. I like to question things and I like to talk. So go ahead.
I wonder if there's, I mean, I'm sure that China's space program is taking suggestions.
No, they're not.
You could write to them.
If I wrote to them, then I'd probably disappear. Anyways, you cannot criticize. No, you can't. Go
This
ahead.
is the first lunar return journey for 40 years.
That's amazing. 40. We haven't done this in 40 years.
The U.S. and Soviet Union did it back in the 1970s. Yeah, 40 years.
That's crazy.
And China, their little flyer didn't land on the moon.
No, it just went around it.
It orbited the moon and then came back.
But still pretty cool. I mean, the moon is pretty far away. Well, it's as far as our terms, but
It's pretty far away as far as the human flies.
as far as a human flies, right?
This was so that technology from China's fourth lunar probe, Chang'e 5, could be tested before it takes to the skies in 2017. If successful, this mission will take samples from the moon's surface for examination.
So it will land on the moon.
It will
do that,
land on the
yes.
moon. I don't believe it will be human manned.
No, it's still going to be unmanned.
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 It will land unmanned. At its furthest point, the probe was some 413 kilometers from Earth. Of course, it took some pretty pictures of our planet and the moon
It
along the
did,
way.
and I did see some of those pictures, and they are amazing. They show
They are.
the Earth, little tiny blue thing, and then the moon really big. It's like from science fiction, but it's not.
And it's the side of the moon that you never get to
And
see
it's the
from
side
Earth.
of the moon that you don't see normally. Yes,
The dark side of the moon, but it wasn't dark in the picture.
No, it wasn't dark.
Incredibly, the whole voyage took a mere 8 days to complete.
It was traveling fast.
Very fast.
Very fast.
25,000 miles per hour.
Speed.
An incredible speed that can rack up temperatures of over 1,500. Oh, that's a degree symbol.
Yes.
2,700 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's hotter than lava.
That is so
cool.
hot.
That's hot. That's cool.
No wonder they didn't have it manned.
That would be hot. That would be
The
too
people
hot.
would have, I mean, it's
Yes.
uncomfortable. Therefore,
Yes.
the craft had to bounce off Earth's atmosphere in order to slow down before re-entry and landing. This latest accomplishment forms part of Beijing's rather ambitious multi-billion-dollar space program, which they describe as a marker of its rising global stature and mounting technological expertise. The project is run by the military and hopes to eventually send a man to the moon, although first the scientists behind the program plan to establish a permanent lunar orbiting station by 2020.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Putting people on the moon and putting an orbital space station around the moon is definitely
Yeah.
that's pretty cool stuff. That's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
We need to be out in space. You know, the Earth is just such a
We
small
do?
part. We need to be out in space. I think. I'm a big believer. I'm a big believer in space exploration.
You know, I'm with you in theory, but space scares me personally. It's dark, it's cold.
It is.
It's full of
It
the
is.
unknown.
It's full of the unknown, but so was the world way back in the 16th century, right? I mean, people thought the rest of the world was scary. It was unknown. You could fall off the edge, and people weren't sure. But
That's
somebody
true.
had to take that step.
That's true.
So somebody's got to be out there doing it.
Those brave scientific souls.
That go out there into space. I mean, eventually space will be no different than traveling to your grandmother's house. I mean, you know, just get in a capsule and go to the moon. You know, a couple days. It's like traveling through the polar vortex in the wintertime to Chicago, right? It'll be no different. You'll be in space,
Exactly.
but you know.
You know, if space travel gets perfected or more common or something in the future, since traveling through space affects how you age because you're going so fast.
Theoretically, yes. It's a small
Theoretically.
amount, but until we can drill really fast.
Maybe it won't be a small amount in the future. Maybe it'll be
Maybe.
a little bit more.
Maybe.
Maybe there will be all these, I don't know, the anti-aging.
Well, it's all relativistic. It's all relative to you.
Well, yeah.
You're
but-
still, time for you is still going to pass at the same rate.
right, but you'll go back to Earth and
You might,
friends
if you
will be
make a
old.
round trip and you do travel at these speeds close to the speed of light, then
I think it's going to change the way that people view aging because
they may, but
it's no longer tied to.
well, it's not
the things
aging
it
so
was
much
tied
as
before.
you'll transport yourself into the future is what you're really doing. You're
Yeah,
not-
but when you come back, your friends are going to look at you differently because they've aged and you haven't.
they'll probably be dead.
So it's going to.
So they're going to definitely look differently.
I don't know. I think It's going to be
It
interesting.
will be interesting to see, but for you and for them, in their perspective, time will not change.
No, time doesn't change.
Right.
But
Well,
but
right.
people will. Your perception of what you're doing isn't any different, but what you see after visiting.
Right, because they'll think you've been gone for 30 years, and you've been gone for 10.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
That's the way space works.
Space is funky that
Space
way.
Space and time are linked together, and it's all relativistic.
Relativistic.
Yes, yes. As Einstein would say, it's spooky science kind of thing.
Would he say that?
Well, he did say that about quantum mechanics. It was spooky science. He didn't like it, even though it wasn't he didn't believe in it. He didn't like it because it was spooky. Because you can have things act as a particle and a wave, and you don't know until you look at it which one it is. It's the whole Schrodinger's cat thing, where is the cat alive or dead? You don't know until you look. The cat could be alive or dead, or is it both? Can it be both?
No. Can it?
Well, but you don't know until you observe it. Until you observe it, you don't know. And a particle, we know that we can take an electron and do what they call the slit experiment, and we can send these electrons through. And you by blocking certain parts, you should get a certain amount and a certain pattern on the other side. And depending on what test we do, sometimes that electron will act like a particle, and sometimes it will act like a wave.
And you never know till you look at it.
Well, you don't know until you do the test, and the test is to determine which one it is. So when you do the test, you're trying to show, is it a wave? And yes, it is a wave. And then when you do a test for particle, it's a particle. So it can be either one.
Crazy.
So that's why Einstein did call it spooky science, quantum mechanics.
I agree with Einstein.
It's spooky.
It's generally good practice to agree with Einstein, I found.
It generally is, because he hasn't really.
He has a pretty good track
He has a pretty good track record for the last 100 years. So
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's pretty solid.
Hard to beat it.
It's pretty solid. I mean, little updates here and there, but it's pretty solid. Anyways.
Well, we're going to debunk some stuff when we come
we
back.
are, because we like to do that.
We do like to do that.
So, all right.
So
We got another song, though.
Stay tuned. I'm going to get it right this time.
Okay.
You're listening to the Philosophers of Science on KTIM.
I am living on Channel Z.
Getting nothing but static, getting nothing but static, static in my attic from Channel Z. Getting nothing but static, getting nothing but static, static fills my attic from Channel Z. I don't know, I feel like something's happening, something good, something love has gotta come on, something big and lovely. I want the world to change for me. Gotta get away, away.
The B-52s with Channel Z on KTIM.
Channel Z. Another 80s song, which just goes to reinforce my brain that the 80s had the best.
Every week we reinforce your theory.
We do, and I get a dopamine reward from it because my brain says it's whenever you get rewarded with dopamine, it's a good day. It's a good day.
Well, we're talking science, and now we're going to have a back-to-back debunking.
A back-to-back debunking of some things that have been out, and because we don't like bad science. For some reason, I just don't like bad science. It's just the way it is, and that's the way I am. And
what do you like less, bad science or spicy food?
oh, that's a tough one.
Would you rather be subjected to pseudoscience or eating, what do you hate?
Onions.
Onions.
Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I think I'd kill myself instead. Just option 3. Option 3, because they're both bad. They're both just evil. Anyways, okay. Ebola has been in the news a lot lately, and there's a lot of information out there on Ebola, and unfortunately, there's also a lot of misinformation, a lot of scare stuff that is out there. So we're going to talk a little bit about a story that was going around that was posted on this New York Post article that the CDC admits that a sneeze could spread Ebola, so it must be airborne. That was the implication that they went. The problem with this is that the people that wrote the article don't have an understanding of what airborne really is.
Well, let's talk about that because our listeners may not know.
And they may not. And it's a complicated, even a lot of the physicians don't like the terminology because they're looking for a third intermediate one between fluids and airborne, because sneezing and coughing spreads droplets. So those droplets must get on you, get absorbed by your body, get into your eyes, into your mouth, somehow get into your body for you to get the virus.
So if someone coughed on an open wound, per se.
Or, in your face, or got on your hand, and then you touched your face and got in your mouth or rubbed your eye, then yes, it is possible because those droplets are body fluids, and body fluids can carry, the Ebola in the fluids. Airborne is different. Airborne is like viruses that are actually in the air when people breathe or exhale. They may cough, and it's not just in the droplets, but it's actually they're tiny, floating around in the air by themselves.
Wow.
So they can linger because they're not in droplets. Droplets from a sneeze and a cough are going to land on a surface unless they land on you. Someone sneezes in your face and it lands on you, then you have those droplets on you. Then you have the Ebola possibly on you. But the droplets land on a surface. Again, you would have to immediately touch that and get in contact with that, and then touch something that's open on your body to get it into your body. It doesn't get absorbed through the skin like certain chemicals can. So it's a tough distinction for people to understand that when we talk about getting it through a sneeze or a cough, it's the droplets that are spreading it, not the airborne virus. Airborne is much, much more contagious. Airborne can linger in the room after the person's left, and people can then breathe the air in that room and get into their lungs and be absorbed into their body. That's a whole different realm of transmission, much more dangerous, would spread worldwide very quickly.
Yeah.
Any outbreak that's airborne like that would spread very quickly. The problem again here is that the people putting articles, especially in the New York Post, and presenting these as scientific articles, need to do better research before they do this.
Well, they're just trying to sell advertising space.
Oh yeah,
right?
it's really about sensationalism and the whole conspiracy that it's being covered up, that it's really airborne. If this stuff was airborne, we would have been screwed a long time ago.
So have you read how long it can last in a particle sneeze?
No,
on
I
the
have
surface?
not. There are some viruses are hardy and can last a lot longer, and I'm not sure on how long Ebola does last. Things like the AIDS virus do not last very long. They don't last because they can't survive the temperature changes or pH changes of an outside environment. I'm not sure that the hardiness of Ebola. Again, knowing that how people can get this from the blood or exposures, it probably can last a certain period of time. It's not going to die right away.
You sneeze on a counter and it's not immediately dying.
Right. It's not immediately, unless maybe when the water dries up, it may not be able to survive. It may have to be in a medium like water or blood, something to keep it alive. So the blood saturation because again, the problem with this Ebola is that people do bleed out as they get sicker. And that's where a lot of this contamination comes from. They're coughing up blood. They're leaking this blood, and that's a problem, and people touch it, and then they rub their face, or they touch something on their body, or have an open wound, or don't properly take off their gloves and become contaminated, and then they touch their face. So it's really about getting it on you and then getting it in you. You have to do both. You're not going to breathe in the Ebola.
So what are some actual airborne viruses? Do you know? Was hantavirus airborne?
Hantavirus, which came from the rat urine dried up, I believe that wasn't airborne because it was breathed in by the lungs. Yes.
Scary.
So there's a bunch of. I don't know. Yeah, those are a lot scarier because
you would never know it was there. You may not see.
You're not going to see it.
A sick person.
You
won't
touch
hear
anything.
coughing.
It can be just in the air itself, and breathing around.
Interesting.
So we just want to say that when people post things, these articles, we want good evidence, and the CDC is not covering up the fact that it's airborne because it's not airborne. Can viruses mutate and change? Absolutely. They do all the time. But so far in the many, many years, well over 20 years that they've been studying Ebola, because they have been studying. It's been around for a long time. They've known about it for a long time. It has never become an airborne virus. So
let's hope it doesn't.
No, let's hope it does. I mean, it's still 50% fatality is still pretty high. It was higher years ago. Now we have a little bit better treatment.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Yeah,
50%.
it was 90% when they first discovered it in Africa and it was first coming out. There was 90% fatality.
So how are they treating it?
A lot of it's discovering it early, and I don't know if they're using certain antivirals that they may have now. It doesn't always work, but what do you got?
Interesting.
How long it lasts?
Oh, we got some
We
info.
got some information. So it can remain alive on dead bodies.
Dead bodies are the longest.
So the big thing is the dead bodies because it's the tissue, right?
But
Once it gets out, it doesn't seem like it lasts very long. But it's the dead bodies and contaminated objects. So it can live outside the human body for a little while. It says so it can live outside the human body, such as needles and syringes and other things. For weeks.
Wow, that's long.
But environmental conditions such as any heat or oxygen actually weaken the virus. So if it's exposed to any warmer temperatures, or extra oxygen environment, it doesn't like the oxygen in the environment. So it's kind of interesting that it can't stay up that long. So there's some facts about Ebola. Yes, it is scary, but it's not as crazy as people making it out to be.
Well, that's interesting because airborne, my brain automatically pictures someone coughing.
Right, and that's why they're actually looking. And this was another article. I didn't bring it with me, but a lot of the doctors, these doctors that study all this stuff, really want a third category that it's either
mistborn or something.
that describes the coughing and sneezing, because when we think of body fluids, we think of the blood. That's the majority. Like HIV, it's not in saliva. It's not in unless there's blood there. It's not in there. So that's what we think of as typically body fluids. When somebody's sneezing and coughing, it can be misinterpreted as an airborne. So we need almost a third category there.
Yeah.
So it is kind of interesting, but that one's been debunked. It is not airborne, so just don't worry about it.
We need a debunking noise. Ka-ching.
A ka-ching
A sound
noise.
effect.
Yes.
Debunked.
Like an asteroid hitting the Earth or something. That would be cool. If we can get a recording of that would be kind of a really big explosion. I don't know, something cool.
What's our second debunking?
The second debunking is the one on NASA.
I have not heard this
You
claim.
haven't. This has been a big one, that's been going around, but that there'll be a multi-day worldwide blackout in December. So how this whole thing really started was it originated back in 2012 when the whole Mayan calendar thing came about and that the Earth was going to end on December 21st. Well, when that didn't happen, then they carried it on to this. They kind of kept it going, and it transformed into this blackout thing of 2014. There is absolutely no.
The world ending and a couple of days of no power are
right.
quite
It's
different.
replaced the original reference. So, what they talked, and if you go to where this article was, they go to a link that talks about a NASA administrator who is discussing the importance of family preparedness in times of disaster. He is talking about generally being prepared because disasters do occur. Nowhere does he ever mention that there will be a multi-day worldwide blackout in December or anytime soon. So
How did that get? That's just.
it's just part of, so that they added a little bit of that, his talk, to say he was talking
Sure,
about the
because
blackout.
NASA's credibility, right?
It's
So they
NASA's
can-
credibility, right? I mean, you can't argue with NASA, right? So, no, there is no blackout. And not to say that you can't have a huge solar flare and get a blackout. I'm not saying you can't, but there is no prediction of one. There have been some cool solar flares recently, though, that have been interesting.
Yeah, and I keep
M-class-
looking for updates on the Earth's magnetic poles getting ready to shift.
Yeah, and they're still not sure when that's going to happen.
Still
It could
not
be
sure when.
10,000 years still, or
Darn
whatever.
it, or
I know
could
we
be
could have to wait a
tomorrow.
while. It could be.
You never know.
I doubt it's tomorrow, but as they said, because we did talk about this, it doesn't like happen immediately. It takes time. It's a slow process. It takes,
Oh.
It doesn't just like
Flip suddenly.
flip like instantly. It takes time. So,
I really want to live through that. Just I don't know why that's so fascinating.
I
to
think
me,
it would
but
be
is.
neat. I think it would be neat
I
because
don't
birds
know.
are going to fly the wrong way, and it's going to
Maybe
be
they'll know.
chaos.
Maybe they have some
well,
sort of
they have to adapt, and that takes time.
true.
I don't know. It'll be interesting. So those are some of the things that are out in the universe right now that are not true. So
Pseudoscience debunked.
pseudoscience debunked. So you want to talk about Google?
Well, I think we better answer a question of the day.
It's already the time, so we can save that. So okay, it's already getting late. Yes, we have a question of the day, and
So you already knew the answer to this one.
I did only because
You're smart like that.
only because depending on how much you want to measure and how well you want to calculate, anything can have an impact on
Well,
the
let's-
movement of the Earth.
Let's review the question. So
Okay.
the question was, if you lined up all of the cars that exist on Earth, if you lined them up in a row
Mm-hmm.
and everybody slammed on the gas at the exact same time, would it have an effect on the Earth's rotation?
Absolutely.
The answer is yes,
Yes,
you're
it's-
correct.
Anytime you generate a force or an energy, it's going to affect something else.
So here's what Car and Driver magazine has to say. The laws of physics state that a body's angular acceleration is the quotient of the torque applied to the body divided by its moment of inertia. Multiplying this angular acceleration by Earth's radius yields linear acceleration at the equator. Therefore, for 1 second of full throttle acceleration, 1 second, the change of the Earth's velocity at the equator is this crazy equation.
Right.
In other units, our billion cars, there's about 1 billion cars on the
Okay.
Earth, increase Earth's rotational speed by just
How many zeros?
0.0000001 mile per hour.
Very slow amount.
10 to the 42.
That's pretty
Oh,
small.
sorry, 10 to the minus 12.
That's pretty small still. That's pretty small.
Yeah, what's more, we can't permanently alter that rotation unless our 1 billion cars continue their westward acceleration. The forces that bring the cars to a stop slow the planet back to its original speed.
There you
But
go.
wasn't it fun while it lasted?
It's fun. Well, yes, it is. It's always an interesting thing, and just the fact that the Earth is spinning around and traveling very fast, and
So theoretically, Superman could do that if he had. Remember in the
I remember.
Superman movie
I
with
remember.
Christopher Reeve, he rewound time.
but you can't. It doesn't mean you're gonna rewind time
By
No, you're
flying
not. No,
around
you
the
cannot
Earth.
rewind time by making the Earth go back. First of all, let's figure something out. The Earth is spinning about 1,100 miles an hour.
It's pretty fast.
Yeah. So if he decided to slow it down pretty quickly, we'd all be dead because we would be slammed into each other at
Buildings would crumble.
buildings would crumble,
people
everything would fall
fly
apart
around.
at several hundred to 1,000 miles an hour. it would be bad.
You wouldn't just walk backwards and talk backwards.
No, it's just
reverse your day a little bit.
Time doesn't go backwards just because you stop the Earth and turn it backwards. It's not. You're not rewinding a universal space-time clock. Einstein would say that's pseudoscience.
Next, you're going to tell me kryptonite doesn't exist.
It may exist, but not that we know of. Not, there is the element krypton, but.
So what would kryptonite be? An isotope?
A made-up term for a made-up term. So.
Well, there's meteor and meteorite.
Right. So it's maybe it's a meteor made up or an asteroid made up of Krypton that landed on Earth and became kryptonite. There you go. But it doesn't matter because no matter what the meteor is made of, when it forms and lands on the Earth, and it's always called a meteorite, no matter what it's made of. It's not called an ironite if it's made of iron, right? It's called a meteorite.
True.
So it's always going to be called a meteorite.
That's true.
It's just science.
You can't fool science.
You can't fool science. You can try, but you can't. All right. So we'll be back next week. Next week I got some stuff. We're going to talk about mercury, a little bit about mercury, because
Ooh, Mercury's
mercury's
fun.
a cool thing. It's one of the 2 only liquids on the periodic table. So
Oh, fascinating.
yes. So we'll talk about mercury next week.
All right. We'll be ready.
We'll be ready, yes. And as always, we'll see you in a week. And as always, I'm John.
I'm Stephanie.
We are now going to be the. What are we going to be?
Oh, well, maybe we need a better name if we can't remember it.
Well, we got to be able to remember it. Yes.
Hang on.
The carbonaceous chondrites. That's it. The carbonation, bringing science to Earth as they brought water to Earth.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. All right. We'll remember it next time. All right. And as always, you can't stop the signal.
KTIM, St. George, Utah.
Alan,
What?
it's cold outside. Oh.
Carry on.
You're listening to 95.3 KTIM.
The pitch.
Yeah. Today in science, we'll be discussing why Alan feels cold outside. I have no explanation for why that might be a thing.
Our leading theory is I have diabetes.
We discussed maybe it's the fact that he's not wearing a jacket, but I think we already debunked that one. Coming up next, we have Never Again by Killswitch Engage. Later, we'll be playing some Oceano, Pantera, Periphery, Molotov Solution. We got some good stuff tonight. Yeah. So here goes Never Again.
Wow.
That was Future Breed Machine by Meshuggah. Yeah, we're gonna take a second to talk about this.
Gent.
To
talk about what, Alex?
To talk about
Gent.
Yes. To talk about gent. Remember a few years ago, when we were in middle school, remember talking, oh, metal can't go anywhere else, like it's done everything. And then this band that I just played here, Meshuggah, came in. Actually, they've been playing since the 90s.
Wow.
But they're pretty much the founders of this new metal genre called gent, which is, if you're listening, the technical term. It's an onomatopoeia for a 3-octave power chord that is heavily palm muted and heavily condensed. So if you're listening to the song, they go gent, 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 gent. And then bands also like to use really weird time signatures. I know Meshuggah's famous for that. And coming up soon, actually, we'll have Periphery, who was really probably what made the gent genre really explode to what it is now. Meshuggah started it, and then Periphery thought it was kind of cool and added some metalcore and did it. And then dozens of bands suddenly just came out, oh, I want to be like Periphery.
Wow.
So, almost like the new metalcore. It's easy to, well, it's, yeah, because honestly, it's easy to write. Just
the new metalcore.
Yeah, if just learn how to do polyrhythms and get some expensive gear, and you can have a gent band.
You hear that, metalcore fans?
Gent, gent, gent,
Your
gent, gent.
music is trash.
No, your music is just easy to write. That's all. Okay, here's Wretched, a preservation of immortality. That was Festering Fiesta by Whitechapel. Didn't sound like much of a fiesta to me. Which, it brings me to another point. Deathcore is also very easy to write.
Hey, deathcore fans, your genre is trash.
It's not trash, it's just easy to write. Sometimes, I'll admit, Beneath the Massacre and Ignominious Incarceration, actually we have them coming up soon, are pretty technical. But in general, like what we just heard.
Well, we should be safe and reiterate, your genres aren't trash. Alex
No.
just thinks your genres are trash.
Maybe Alex is trash. Alex just has bad opinions. I still play them on the radio show,
Yeah.
so you should be happy.
And then you laugh the whole time.
Be thankful, plebes.
You're hearing it peep. You're hearing it here. He insults you the whole time off the air.
Oh, yeah, I just remembered. Up next is The Walk by Periphery. This is who I was talking about earlier. This is the band that made Gent explode. And right at the very beginning, you're going to hear everything. You're going to hear the weird time signatures, and you're going to hear Gent. So listen for that. See if you can hear the Gent. So, gent.
Gent.
So before we get to the next song, I just wanted to point out that I have never. The song isn't normally instrumental. They released their album on April 20th, actually, which is my birthday, and they didn't give me a free one.
When's your birthday, Alex?
April 20th.
Could you put that into number form?
The 20th day of the 4th month. And what was I saying? Oh yeah, they released it, and then a little bit later they released it instrumentally. I've never owned the instrumental CD, but I do own the regular CD.
And
But for some reason on my computer, I have the instrumental, but not the regular one. So whichever one of you guys is hacking into my computer, so I'll play certain songs. Stop it. Here goes Kerouac. Those deeds of days long gone by ignominious incarceration. This is a sad story. They were the rest of the album sounds like this, and then for some reason they changed their name to the Soulless, and then started playing easy metalcore. Well, I mean, some metalcore's more. You know what I mean.
Your genre is trash.
For the most part. You know what's not easy to write, though, was that kind of music that we just listened to.
Yeah.
And they stopped playing it for some reason. I don't know why. And why would you change your name from ignominious incarceration, which is really cool and metal and unique, to the Soulless?
So you can write easy, trashy metalcore.
They could have, I guess.
Your genre
I
is
guess
trash.
it's, I guess it's a good thing they left the name behind then.
Yeah.
They're not deserving of it anymore. You know what else is not hard? Or what? What
Tell
else?
us, Alex.
What else is hard
What
to
else
write?
is hard to write?
Is this? This is Selkie's "The Endless Obsession" by Between the Buried and Me. I have to come clean, Alan.
Oh yeah.
I love ISIS. They're just amazing. I think they're doing great work. Absolutely love them.
Well,
One of the best things to come out in, I guess it was last decade, is ISIS. Oh, by the way, that was Will's Dissolve by the band ISIS.
the band ISIS.
The band ISIS. Actually, what's funny is if you go on Facebook and look them up, it's ISIS and then in parentheses the band. Just in case you wanted to go like and follow ISIS, the terrorist organization.
Well, who is first?
I don't know.
Maybe ISIS needs to, in parentheses, the terrorist organization.
Yeah, I think they should. Oh, just imagine some religious extremist looks up ISIS, and it's just progressive metal. What is this?
Oh.
They'd probably just explode with rage.
The CIA is on its way here as we speak.
Oh man. Speaking of that, if someone could bring me a brisk iced tea, please. I'd appreciate it. Up next, later in the show, we're going to be having some Abiotic, Gojira, Gaza, Hatebreed. But
What was that last one?
Hatebreed.
Your genre is trash.
We'll see. Up next, this is Locust Star by
Brah.
Neurosis Bra.
By Neurosis, brah.
That was Mouth for War by Pantera.
Cool.
Thrash is kind of easy to write too, isn't it?
Pantera?
No, well, I guess Pantera is thrash, so yes. Isn't it? Don't give me that look.
Maybe.
You
I think it's easy to write the drums for.
used to write thrash.
Lars Ulrich is the greatest drummer ever.
Yep. Unless I just lost my train of thought mid-sentence.
That's a good thing. I used to write thrash.
Except I saw, I'm part of a thrash group on Facebook, and someone was like, "Hey man, check out my band," and I watched their video. They didn't have a bassist, so it was just a guy on a guitar going, but the drummer, I guess, thought that he was like the main instrument or something. So he's just like, just like a 3-minute long drum solo over power chords. Like,
oh, wow.
what are you doing? Nobody cares about drums. That just came through the radio.
Hey,
huh?
drummers, your instrument is trash.
Anybody listening to the radio show knows that my computer is close to dying now.
That's actually a gooder. A gooder?
A gooder?
It's actually a gooder thing. Hey, everybody listening
Then
to the
what?
radio show, you're trash.
You don't make fun of our fans. You're not trash.
By proxy,
We love you.
by listening to us, you have become.
We love you.
We love you.
You're not trash.
That's what love is.
You're not trash.
That's what love is. We love you anyway.
Despite that.
Despite you being trash.
You're not trash. Just some of the music that you like is trash. No offense.
It's okay. We're trash with you.
We probably shouldn't be insulting our listeners.
Come down here and fight us in real life.
The most hated radio show in St. George. Maybe.
The most something, at least.
Well, if people knew about it at least, then it would be, but people have to know about you to hate you.
We'll change our direction and we'll be the most science instead.
I don't know, that's a pretty hard task. We can be philosophical. Like, why should I get a job?
Here's some philosophy. How much talking without music is too much talking?
Not this much.
This much talking?
Probably less than this. Here goes ... And the cat turned to smoke. Whoosh. By Orchid. Those District of Misery by Oceano. Is that like Hunger Games or something?
I'm pretty sure the ending of that song was a movie clip from the Hunger Games.
I think this came out before the Hunger Games.
Lies.
Like that's the aftermath of the Hunger Games is they defeat their government or whatever, and then they find out that past the 13th district or whatever is the Misery District. Dun dun dun. And it'll be like the government's Auschwitz of the future or whatever.
And then there's an explosion.
Yeah, and then hot chick shooting arrows and stuff, and yeah.
Where can I give you my money?
Right here in my front pocket. That weird clip, I don't know if you noticed, that weird skip at the beginning, like
Yes.
20 seconds in, did you notice?
Yes.
There's like a half-second skip. I don't know what it is. I know it's not my recording, because if you actually listen to it on the CD, it still skips there for some reason. And no, I've noticed, because I listened to the whole CD all the way through, and whoever did the production on that did a bad job.
This in science news, Alex's CD has a scratch on it.
Yes, straight out of the case. It got scratched while it was being stored
The
on the shelf.
recording software has a scratch on it then.
Your Logic has a dent in it, looks like. Oh, God. This next band, actually came to St. George once. And at the time, I didn't know who they were.
Real Big Fish?
No. They came to St. George like 4 times when the Electric Theater was still a thing. Oh, yeah, by the way, speaking of that, I guess the town's really mad. I don't know if you guys heard about the Monster Mash shutdown. Basically, they had a Heart of Dixie event, and they shut it down because they didn't have a dance permit. They didn't have a permit to let their patrons dance. So now everybody's all mad. And on Thursday at 5 o'clock, they're all going to go to the city council building, and they're going to have a dance outside there. Yeah, it sounds like fun. I think I might go.
Cool.
Well, actually, I know I will go, because on that same city council meeting, me and a couple other people are going to be presenting a non-discrimination ordinance to the city council. So if you think everyone should have rights, then come. And that is the only time I'll ever interject politics into the show.
Everyone?
The only time.
But what about the one group of people that we both agree shouldn't have rights?
No, everyone. Those aren't real anyways. Those don't exist. Oh, anyways, this band that came to St. George once, this is Nails. Or as their name, as they list it, Nails. Okay. That was Sin and Sacrifice by Molotov Solution, the best solution. In other news, we have a fine young gentleman here who actually brought an iced tea. So let's give him a round of applause. Yay. Introduce yourself, Isaac. Tell us your name.
My name is Isaac. My name is Isaac Erickson. Hi.
He's, Isaac here is a local musician that's been involved in very many bands, and actually
Very
was
many.
very many, including what Soul What, right?
No, that's my mother's band actually.
Your
I
mom
am
won't
in-
let you in her band.
No, she's already got players, and
Oh.
they're really good though. I support those guys; they're really good. I play bass for Electric Witness. Dick Earl's Electric Witness has a blues band. I do guitar and vocals, any other instruments that I feel like playing in another acoustic project that I have called Juicebox Crew.
You were in Wire Elephant for a little bit too.
Yeah, I
weren't you?
was in Wire Elephant for, I think,
Like a
pretty
good
much
year, weren't
like
you?
more than that. Like I was there kind of at the beginning, and then recently stopped playing with those guys this February. But I had a really good time playing with those guys. They're really good musicians. I support their projects still. They're really good. And I had a band with you guys one time.
Yeah.
You remember that? You remember that? It was fun.
Like, well, if you count the
We know not what you speak of.
if you count the unofficial,
Oh yeah.
The just
all of
goof-
our like 1 week old bands.
yeah, if you count all those, and it's been like 5 bands.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. They kind of went through different genres too. There was like ska, screams, and then like prog metal, and then just thrash, and then like Dragon Force poop. We played Dragon Force.
No, we literally played Dragon Force once.
Yeah, it was fun.
That was so far away, though.
Yeah.
So what so far has been the best venue in southern Utah to play at?
In
would you
southern
say?
Utah, or
Currently existing or not existing anymore? I think you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I really liked playing at the Electric Theater. The Electric Theater was a really cool place to play. Also, Go-Go 37, both of which are not open anymore, sadly.
Go-Go was great.
Yeah, there's been a few venues that have opened and closed while I've been here playing music, and it's sad to see them go. But it's a good thing that we can at least keep the music scene going for the most part here. But I definitely think there should be more action taken on that to try and boost the music scene up here. I don't think it's supported as much as it should be.
Hopefully after this Thursday, it'll be easier for venues to start up.
Probably.
If all
Hopefully.
that dance stuff gets cleared up.
Yeah.
Supposedly the Electric Theater is supposed to open again
That's what I
in
heard.
February, and they're actually going to have a separate space without permanent seating, so just like an open space where bands can come in and play.
Oh, cool.
So like every hardcore show you've ever been to,
Hooray.
or at least the setup, where you're just there on the floor.
Yep.
Probably would not be too popular with bands outside that genre, though.
Yeah. That's cool. I didn't know that.
How does it feel to be as famous as you are? I know you're shocked to actually be invited here to a real live radio station.
Yeah. Hello, all three of you who are listening.
Have you ever seen one before?
Have I ever seen one what?
A radio station.
Yes, I've been in here before.
Like the inside. Oh yeah,
I've played here with Wire Elephant.
you did the jazz thing,
And I
or
did- yeah, I've done
you
a few
sat
things.
there and listened while they did the jazz thing.
Yes.
Yes, listeners.
Now you can sit and
That thing.
I have
Oh,
seen
man.
it.
If you're listening, if you're just listening in your car and you get home, go on to KTIM.org and you can watch us too, which I can promise you is very interesting.
Yes. Interesting.
That's the word we'll go with.
Yep.
Here goes, actually, this is a band from Utah, or they were, from Salt Lake City. They just broke up a few months ago, sadly, called Gaza. Actually, I guess you could kind of say that they're still around, because Gaza broke up, but then 3 out of the 4 members formed a new band called, what is it, Cult Leader. So Gaza 2.0.
Yes.
Here goes Carnivore by Gaza from Provo, I think, or Salt Lake City. From up north,
That's
Great
offensive.
White North, eh?
the Great North.
changed it. You did.
That was Vacuity by Gojira.
Yes.
Now that's philosophy.
Gojira?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Oh, well, that's it wasn't a joke. I mean, it was kind of a joke, but
I mean, I don't get the philosophy.
if you had read their lyrics, then you'd understand.
Hipster.
I guess not philosophy so much as theology,
Hipster.
but they make good music. This is your favorite band up next that we have.
Oh. Before that,
What?
I recently discovered that while insulting our few audience members,
I told you.
I hurt an 8-year-old girl's feelings.
I warned you.
She's 11.
I warned you.
Good.
Well, just for that, I'm gonna make you listen to this next band.
Oh no. I'm sorry.
It's it's Perseverance by Hatebreed.
Legacy, shame and deceit, 'cause the only real truth in your life
was Extreme Unction by Necrophagist. Actually, two of the members of that band, I think the bassist and the drummer, so the two least important members.
Hey, bassists and drummers, your instruments are trash.
Hey, Isaac's right there. Those two went on to form a band called Obscura, or as they're also known, Necrophagist 2.0. For all of you listening, The Pit is on KTIM 95.3 Tuesdays from 8 to 10.
Just in case you got confused.
For all of you who are not listening, I love you.
Only if you're not listening. Hey, you never know. Daylight savings time, they might have,
Accidentally stumbled upon it like I did.
Just got confused. What's today? I don't even know.
Change the channel
I
now.
lost an hour. From now on, we should probably open our show with a cancer warning. Just in case.
It's fair. It's fair.
Warning, elongated periods of listening to this radio show may cause
Brain cancer.
among other forms.
And corning degenerating into trash.
Mental apnea.
Fun
Mental
statistics.
Atrophy.
How do you say statistics?
Statistics.
We figure in every 10 minutes of music we play you, what is it? 4 minutes of it is probably talking?
No, if it was every 10 minutes, then be every 2.5 minutes would be talking.
And every minute of talking has about 10 seconds of laughter.
So, for 2 hours, you've probably listened to like 5 minutes straight of just. But you love us.
Because you're trash.
We're the most loved yet hated radio show in St. George.
It's okay. Isaac loves you.
Hey, actually, we're going to be moving stations soon.
Oh, yeah.
Don't know if I'm supposed to be talking too much about it, but
Hey.
well, I mean, but within the next couple months, actually, KTIM is going to be moving, so we'll no longer be 95.3.
We'll be a secret channel.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. But it's going to be great because instead...
Reasons that are classified.
Well, because also... I just realized that the only people who can hear us are people here in the center of town.
Oh, yeah.
But once we move, it'll be the whole Washington County area. Huh?
I could hear you in Santa Clara.
Oh, really? Yeah. I didn't know that. Isaac claims he can hear us in Santa Clara.
Fun
but
fact, Alex has no idea what he's talking about.
I do know what I'm talking about. But basically, after the move, all of St. George is going to be able to listen to us.
And get brain cancer.
So one day, some unsuspecting victim will be driving in their car, scanning the radio station
And
at
then-
Tuesday from 8 to 10 p.m.
They will become trash.
Just like that. All right. I guess this is it. Here's the last one. Hope you enjoy it. Actually, I ended with this band last week, but they're good, and I'm digging this album. Here goes Guardians of Asgard by Amon Amarth.
What?
was Guardians of Asgard by Amon Amarth. You know, if you're feeling bad, here's a pick-me-up for today. Alan, my co-host here. Say hi, Alan.
Hi.
Alan doesn't even listen to any of this. And yet, here he is. So if he can do that, then, well, I don't know if that's actually very uplifting.
Shocking conclusion, ladies and gentlemen. All along, I was the trash.
It was it was a ruse. Oh man. Oh well, looks like our time's up. So if you like what you hear. Oh yeah, we have a Facebook page now too, so you should go there and
Post cat memes.
yeah, that too. Yeah, go on the Facebook page, KTIM The Pit, and you can request some bands and stuff, and then I won't play them. No, I will.
Because your bands are dumb.
No, I'll listen to your suggestions. Especially if you have a local metal band, or you know somebody who's in a local metal band, tell them to get in touch, and we can bring them here on the radio show sometime.
Yeah.
I tried looking, but I guess there are none, or at least very few, local metal bands.
Dang.
Let's change that. Right now. We're gonna start playing our regular programming, and you are going to go start